Most people lose arguments they should win, not because their ideas are weak, because they do not understand how persuasion actually works. They believe facts win debates. They believe logic changes minds. All of this is wrong. Persuasion is not about being right. It is about being effective. And effectiveness requires understanding 7 influence technique that bypass logic and speak directly to how humans actually make decisions. In the next 13 minutes, you will learn how to persuade anyone through strategic communication. Technique 1. Frame the conversation before it starts. You want to negotiate a raise. You walk into your boss's office and say, "I would like to discuss my salary." You just lost, because the frame is now employee asking for more money. And that frame puts your boss in defense mode. Someone who understands persuasion frames differently. "I want to discuss my role and contributions over the past year." Now the frame is not asking for money. It is reviewing performance. And in a performance frame, compensation is a natural outcome, not a request. Framing is about controlling what question is being answered. When you ask for a raise, the question becomes, "Should I give you more money?" When you discuss performance first, the question becomes, "Am I being compensated fairly for the value I create?" Same conversation, different frame, different outcome. The rule: identify what frame the conversation will naturally fall into, then reframe it before it starts. Control the question being answered, and you control the answer. Technique 2. Use their language, not yours. You are trying to convince a colleague to support your project. You explain why it matters to you, why you are passionate about it, and they remain unconvinced because you are speaking your language. And people are not persuaded by what matters to you. They are persuaded by what matters to them. Someone who understands influence listens first. They identify what the other person values, what words they use. Then they present the same idea using that language. You want your colleagues' support. You discover they care about efficiency. Now you present your project as a way to streamline our current process. Same project, their language. This works because humans trust what sounds familiar. When you use someone's language, you sound like their internal voice, and people agree with their internal voice more readily than external voices. The rule: before persuading, listen. Identify their priorities. Note the exact words they use. Then present your idea using those same words. Mirror their language, and they will hear your idea as if it were theirs. Technique 3. Create scarcity around your proposal. You are offering an opportunity. You present it as widely available. Anyone can do this. You think accessibility makes it attractive. It does the opposite, because humans do not value what everyone can have. Someone who understands persuasion creates scarcity. This opportunity is available to 3 people. I am offering it to you first. Now the question is not, should I take this? The question is, am I one of the 3 who qualifies? Scarcity shifts the frame from evaluation to qualification. This works everywhere. The product available to everyone is ignored. The product with limited stock creates urgency. The person available to everyone is taken for granted. The person with clear standards creates pursuit. The rule: before presenting anything, establish that it is not universally available. Use time limits. This offer ends Friday. Use capacity limits. I can only take on 2 more clients. Scarcity increases perceived value. But scarcity only works if your offer actually has substance. And this links directly to Technique 6. Empty scarcity is transparent. Real scarcity backed by real value is irresistible. Technique 4. Give to create obligation. You need someone's help. Your instinct is to ask directly. Can you help me with this? They evaluate the request. They calculate the cost. They often decline. Someone who understands influence gives first. Before asking for help, you help them. You offer assistance on their project. You share useful information. You create value without asking for return. Then later, you make your request. Now when you ask, they are not evaluating your request in isolation. They are evaluating it in the context of what you have already given. Humans have a deep psychological need to reciprocate. Your prior giving makes your request feel like restoration of balance, not imposition. The rule: build reciprocity before you need it. Help people before you ask them for help. The person who gives first is in the position of power when they finally ask. Technique 5. Anchor expectations with your first number. You are negotiating price. The other party asks, "What are you willing to pay?" Most people offer a reasonable number, and that number becomes the ceiling. The negotiation can only go down from there. Someone who understands persuasion anchors high, not absurdly high, but higher than they expect to land, because the first number establishes the range. If you open at 100, the negotiation happens between 170. If you open at 150, the negotiation happens between 150 and 100. This works in reverse, too. If you are selling, anchor high. The standard rate is 5,000. Now 4,000 feels like a discount. If you opened at 3,000, there is no room to negotiate up. This applies beyond money. Negotiating deadline? Anchor with more time than you need. This will take 6 weeks. Now 4 weeks feels fast. Negotiating scope? Anchor with more deliverables. This includes 10 features. Now 8 feels streamlined. The rule: whoever states the first number controls the range. Always anchor in your favor. Let the negotiation move from your starting point toward the middle. Technique 6. Prove it with specificity, not generalities. You are trying to convince someone of your capability. You say, "I am very experienced." They remain skeptical, because very experienced is a claim everyone makes. It is not verifiable. Someone who understands influence uses specificity. I've managed 7 projects over the past 3 years, with an average budget of $200,000 and a 95% on-time completion rate. Now they are not evaluating a claim. They are processing data, and specific data is harder to dismiss than vague assertions. This works everywhere. You want someone to trust your idea. Do not say, "This will improve efficiency." Say, "This will reduce processing time from 4 hours to 90 minutes, based on the pilot we ran last month." Specificity creates credibility. The rule: replace every generality with a specific detail. Instead of many, use 17. Instead of quickly, use within 48 hours. Specificity transforms claims into evidence, and evidence persuades where claims do not. Now we reach the technique most people never use. And this is what separates amateur persuaders from masters. It feels like weakening your position, but it actually strengthens it by building trust. Technique 7. Acknowledge the strongest counterargument yourself. You are presenting a proposal. You know there are objections. Your instinct is to avoid mentioning them, and when they bring them up, you defend. This makes you look either naive or dishonest. Someone who understands persuasion brings up the objection first. The main concern with this approach is cost. It is 20% more expensive than the current solution. Here is why that investment makes sense. You just did 3 things. You showed you have thought critically. You demonstrated honesty by not hiding the weakness. You controlled when and how the objection was discussed. When you raise the objection, you frame the response. When they raise it, they frame the response. By acknowledging the strongest counter-argument yourself, you disarm it before it becomes an attack. The rule: identify the strongest objection to your position, then bring it up yourself before they do. Frame it accurately, then address it thoroughly. This builds trust because it shows you are not hiding weaknesses. So here is how you apply these 7 techniques starting tomorrow. Pick one conversation where you need to persuade someone. Frame the conversation before it starts. Do not let it default to the obvious frame. Use their language, not yours. Listen for what they value and translate your message into their words. Create scarcity around what you are offering. Time limits, capacity limits, qualification requirements. Give first to create obligation. Help them before you ask for help. Anchor expectations with your first number. Start higher or lower than where you want to land. Prove it with specificity. Replace vague claims with precise details. Acknowledge the strongest counter-argument. Bring up the main objection yourself and address it completely. Apply 3 of these techniques in your next important conversation. Notice how differently people respond when you frame strategically. Notice how much faster they agree when you speak their language. Notice how much more they value what you offer when scarcity is present. Notice how willing they are to help when you have helped first. Notice how negotiation range shifts when you anchor first. Notice how credible you become with specific details. Notice how much trust you build by acknowledging weaknesses honestly. These techniques work because they align with psychological patterns that govern decision-making. Humans do not make decisions based purely on logic. They make decisions based on frames, familiarity, scarcity, reciprocity, anchors, evidence, and trust. You have been trying to persuade through better arguments, through more facts, through clearer logic. And sometimes that works, but often it does not. Because persuasion is not about having the best case. It is about presenting your case in a way that aligns with how humans actually process information. Most people will never learn these techniques. They will continue losing negotiations they should win, failing to get buy-in for ideas that deserve support, struggling to convince people who should be convinced. You now understand the how. Frame first. Speak their language. Create scarcity. Give before asking. Anchor high. Prove with specifics. Acknowledge objections. These are not manipulation tactics. These are influence techniques. The difference is intent. Manipulation uses these techniques to convince people to do things that harm them. Influence uses these techniques to convince people to do things that benefit both parties. The techniques are neutral. The ethics come from what you are trying to persuade someone to do. Use these techniques that ethically. Use them to communicate ideas that deserve to be heard, to negotiate outcomes that are fair, to lead people toward decisions that serve everyone. Because persuasion is a tool, and tools are only as good as the person wielding them. The choice is yours. But understand this: every day, someone is being persuaded. The only question is whether you understand how persuasion works, or whether you are subject to it. These 7 techniques give you understanding. Master these techniques, practice them, refine them, and watch how differently the world responds when you speak the language of persuasion instead of just the language of truth. Because truth without persuasion rarely changes minds, but truth delivered through persuasion changes everything.